Good day in sixes. As I told you last week on the first, when I saw you and I did the introduction, I said online teaching is going to be one of the things that we're going to use, and the platforms we're going to use is Google Classroom, and we're going to use WhatsApp. The recordings I will make is through Zoom. So how it's going to work, the moment I load something, I will chat to you on your groups. That means on 6A, B, and C. I will communicate what I am doing. So I will load the videos and the answers to the activities on both WhatsApp and Google Classroom. I will then send you the links as well so that you can activate it. So you will have access to those platforms. Please, what you need to do when I send it to you over WhatsApp, I want you to create a folder for the various chapters so that you don't need to go and search for it, so that you can activate it from your folder. So create folders for chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 so that you can collect it very easily and recover it very easily. Now, I did speak to you about, we were doing chapter 3, and in chapter 3, we already covered labor turnover. We were then busy calculating salaries and wages, and I gave you some activities. And 3 of those activities was activity 1, 2, and 3. I've loaded the answers for 1, 2, and 3. So I want you to compare the answers I have loaded with your answers. If there's anything you don't understand, please make sure you make a note of it. So when we touch base with each other on the 15th, I want you to bring it to my attention so that we can go through it and we can identify what you know and what you don't know. So without further ado, I want to speak about, I asked you to do activity 1, which deals with salaries. There is a name of the employee, Rocks Traders, and here are the 3 employees, and they are all salary earners. That's the names and the salaries they earn. The information below is information regarding their deductions. The pension, 5.5% of gross income, UIF 1% according to legislation. And also, I would like to advise you that you need to have your notes with you when you answer these questions. So if you don't understand something, you can refer back to your notes. Do not work without the notes. The notes is important. But yes, you earn 25% of taxable income. And what is taxable income? It's when you take your gross salary in this case and minus it from your pension. That amount will be called taxable income. You then work your taxable income on that amount. So I'm going to go to the answers. The first person is P. Nong, and he has a gross salary of 6,300. Then the pension, I've got a table here, 6,300 times 5.5%. And the instruction was, you've got to round off, so that becomes 347. So there is his pension. Then the next deduction is UIF. It's 1% according to legislation, and legislation means 1% of gross. There's a gross salary, and there is a UIF. And then the pay as you earn was 25% of taxable income. And like I said, taxable income is when you take your gross minus your pension. And then this amount here is your taxable income. Just going to bold it for you. And then you multiply it with 25%, and there's your tax. That's the tax that the person is going to pay. You round it off to 1,488. So how do you get to the net? You take the gross, minus it from the pension, minus it from the UIF, and minus it from the pay as you earn. And there's the net salary. Now, what I've done, the answers for this, I've already loaded it on Google Classroom, and I'm forwarding it to you over WhatsApp as well. So there's the answers for the rest of the employees. I've also put there a table. I want you to compare your answers with this and see where you have gone wrong and what you got right, and things that you don't understand. Like I said, you will then bring it up next week and Monday when we go through the answers. That's activity 1. Then we're going to go to activity 2. Activity 2 deals with a person that that earns a wage. The following is an extract from the weekly payroll of Ms. Paula Bernard, a weekly paid employee. There's the normal working hours. There's the hours worked. There's the units produced. There's the rate per hour. The overtime rate is 1.5 times the normal rate. And bonus for every 50 units, the person gets 35.50. Then the deduction, she gives 7.5% of her normal wage, not gross, normal wage. The employer agrees to contribute R1.50 for every R1. She contributes 75 Rand per week towards medical aid, and the employer gives 50% of the 75 Rand. Pay as you earn is 8% of gross wage after pension is deducted. They both contribute according to legislation. So this is a bit different, this one. You don't calculate it, unlike activity 20, where you had to calculate the gross wage. Here they've got certain questions that they give you. Ms. Bernard's normal wage for the week. So remember, although she worked more than 40 hours, she worked 48 hours. So 40 hours is normal wage. So you take the 175.50 is the rate times 40 hours. There's the normal wage. Let's look at the next question. A production bonus. Remember, she doesn't get for every unit, but for every 50 units. So you take the total divided by 50 gives you 13, and that's the amount she gets for every 50, and that's the total she gets. Let's go to 2.1.3. They want you to calculate the overtime pay. Now remember, she worked 8 hours overtime. So you've got to first take the normal rate times 1.5. That's the overtime rate, not the overtime. Now you've got to take that multiplied by 8 hours, and there's the overtime pay. Let's see, what do they want in 2.14? In 2.14, how much does she contribute towards pension? Now let's go here. Pension, 7.5% of normal wage. So what's a normal wage? 7,020 Rand, which you calculated in 2.11 times 7.5%, and there is that amount. That's a pension. What's the next thing we must calculate? Pay as you earn. Now, how do you get to pay as you earn? You first have to calculate her gross wage, because it's here after of gross wage after pension has been deducted. So you take the normal wage plus the bonus plus the overtime. So you take 2.11, 2.12, and 2.13. You add it together and you minus it from the pension. So there it is. You minus from, and there's your taxable income. And now you multiply it with 8.5%, and there is the tax. So there's 2.11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Let's go to 2.1.6. What do they want us to calculate? Her total deductions. Now, what makes up her total deductions? It's a pension, a medical aid, her tax, and her UIF. What have we calculated? We've calculated her pension, and we've calculated her tax. So there's a pension, there's a pay as you earn, medical aid is given, UIF we must calculate 1% of gross wage. So there's a gross wage, 9,587 times 1%, and there are her 4 total deductions. Let's go to our next one, 2.17, net wage for the week. How do you get to net wage? The ruling is it's your gross minus your deduction. There's the gross, and there's the deduction, and there's the net wage. 2.1, the employer's contribution, 2.18. So what does the employer contribute? The employer contributes towards pension and towards medical aid and towards UIF. Now, towards pension, R1.50 for every R1. So what did the employee give? Remember, the employee gave 526.50, so it's times 150, and that is what the employer is giving. Medical aid is 50% of what the employee gave. The employee gave R75, so it's 37.50. Then UIF, they both give 1% according to legislation, so it's 1% of gross wage. And this is the employer's contribution. When you come back to class on Monday, we will further discuss 2.19 and 2.110. Later in the week, I'll put up another 2 activities, and the rest we're going to do in class. Please, students, it's very important that you do your homework. The homework serves as a way of assessing what you know and what you don't know. So I will post and I will inform you over the WhatsApp groups what I'm going to do and when I'm going to load the stuff.